So, will we get any more hot idols in this episode? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with episode 5 of Zenshu. I just can't stop raving about this series. I'm genuinely not kidding when I'm saying this is one of my favorite things I'm reacting to. Probably outside of like maybe One Piece, my favorite thing I'm currently reacting to. And it's so good. And I would have never expected this to be good. I can't emphasize that enough either. Because this is an isekai, which I've mentioned I'm not super into. I'm not like the biggest fan of isekai. But on top of that, it's a, pretty standard fantasy isekai, which is I think the most common type. It's like isekai, like I think the two most common types are fantasy and like um video game. I don't know why I blanked on that, but like specifically into video games, which also a lot of times aligns with fantasy, but like a fantasy world or a video game world specifically. Um it's usually centered around that, and this doesn't really do either of those things. It is fantasy, but it's a very specific kind of fantasy because it's based off of a very specific anime world. And it's the world of this anime film that makes it a bit different in and of itself because it has this normally set story. It's not like a video game where it's like, oh, it's an MMO where the story like can kind of go in different directions or whatnot, based on which quests and everything you go through. There's not dungeons to explore in that regard. It's They're basically just staying in one place, one city, and trying to defend it. There's not a lot of exploration. It really goes against a lot of the tropes. And that's one of the reasons I like it. It's different in that regard. But also, the characters are great. Natsuko herself, I keep mentioning, like, I love her gremlin energy. But, like, even when she's being, like, less gremlin-y and more normal, she's still super likable. Like you always can kind of get behind her and her mindsets and her views. Um, Even with last episode when she's like trailing Memel and everything because she has like the little bit of knowledge of things going on, but not the reasons why. It's like you're kind of like trying to like figure things out in the same way that she is. You're connecting to her through this shared curiosity. It's super interesting, and you see her also like try to spare Luke's feelings by not telling him what's going on initially, and it's just like it's so good in that regard. It's so genuinely good. And then it like also like pulls like twists and turns out of its hat at random places, having things like the choir being this musical suicide cult basically. And it's just like, oh, okay. And on top of that, you have the entire twist with her summoning the idol singer, and that being what stops them and what like helps Memel deal with her depression from living such a long life and basically just craving death. And it's like, okay, sure. It's so silly, but in the best way. Like this series is very clearly self-aware of how ridiculous it's getting at times, but it's still keeping it within a believable realm for this world that they're setting up. it never goes like too wacky or anything. It's not like a comedy series like Nichijou that just like goes off the rails completely randomly. No, it sticks within a set of like standards and rules, and it makes it work in that regard a lot better. Um, you also have other characters. Obviously, Unio is pretty funny. He's definitely a comic relief character, at least as of now. But it's also expressed his importance to like Luke and everything, so he does have more to him. You obviously have Luke who's warming up to Natsuko and just, becoming less stern and harsh in general. He's starting to like become a lot more cutesy, for lack of a better word. From like a couple episodes ago where he just like laughed at Serval Cat Mask and everything, into going into cheering for him. And then of course you have him like, cooking and baking and stuff. We find out he's the one who's been tying up Natsuko's hair after she passes out every time. And it's just like he's kind of adorable. And like I mean that in a very genuine sense. Like he's just kind of genuinely really cute in that regard. And mind you, like obviously there's nothing wrong with a guy being into stuff like that, or anyone. Like what you like, be into what you want to be into. Like baking is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But it's just really fun to see these characters develop. And obviously we had Destiny from a couple episodes ago. Memel developed last episode, mostly kind of, in a way. And it's like we're definitely going to get more characters as we go on. We still haven't seen the sexy side eye dragon person. That character still hasn't come in, and there's probably other characters in the opening. I don't overanalyze openings when I watch them. I watch them for fun, and it's like if I notice something, I notice it. But it's like I'm not going to go through the opening and analyze every frame of it like some people do. It's like that's not fun to me. And especially because it takes away the fun of discovering things within the course of the series, which is fun for me. I like finding things out as I watch. Here's an example for you. The opening for this series for Zenshu has a couple shots that are like that go by really fucking quick. And I honestly, I can't tell what's happening in them because they go by too quick that I can't, like, my mind just doesn't it doesn't register the visuals in any noticeable way. It's like there's a couple shots, I think it's kind of in the middle of the opening, where it just like flashes by two shots, like kind of scrolling downward or something. And it's like I have no idea what's shown there because my eyes can't visually adjust to what I'm seeing in time. And yeah, I could go in there and I could pause it. I do not want to do that because to me that would possibly be spoiling something. I don't know like what that's showing, but it might be something that I don't know of yet and I would rather discover naturally as I watch the series. Um and the opening, generally speaking, doesn't seem super spoilery outside of maybe that. But I just like to be careful because, again, I try to go into everything as blind as possible. For my own sake, because it's how I enjoy watching things, but also for the sake of the reaction, because I've said it before, I'll say it again, I feel like reactions are best when they're as blind as possible. Let's Plays too, but that's not really relevant here. um, so yeah, it's one of those cases where there's just so much to love about this series that goes well beyond the standard trappings of its genre and subgenre. that makes it really stand out. Not to mention the animation, the art, the voice acting all being fantastic, the music. It's like that's all really good, but I like the stuff that really like again goes against what you typically get with a lot of isekai. Those are the best kind of isekai for me. The ones that really do change things up in a notable way. That's why I like ReZero as much as I do. I'm still not caught up on that, but I do still like the series. Because ReZero is very different from a standard isekai. It changes things up a lot. Very harshly sometimes, too. But yeah, I I just really hope that this continues to be as good as it is, and because this could easily become one of my favorites. Like this could easily enter my top 10. But we're like not even halfway through it, so I can't say anything for certain right now. It's really good and I'm really enjoying it, but the second half of the season could also start to go a little downhill. It's possible. Other shows have done that where it starts off really, really damn good and then kind of just falls off a cliff. It happens. But that being said, I think we should just get into this episode and see what it has in store for us. So let's do so. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah, it's obvious what's going to happen here. Cliffhanger endings aren't like a big surprise. A lot of shows obviously do them. But I think my reaction at the end there, like saying, like, oh, you fuckers, it was specifically because it just snuck up on me. Like I legitimately thought that we were a lot like earlier in the episode still. Like 5 to 10 minutes left. And it's just like wow, I got like really invested in that episode, I guess. Um so we finally get to meet Justice, the sexy dragon from the opening, which it openly acknowledges is sexy. It's like, okay, that is very much the intent. Like, the creator of Zenshu clearly designed this character to be, like, attractive as fuck. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's some people out there who have, like, this weird issue with, like, beast type characters, whether they're like more mammalian or reptilian or whatever, being like designed to be like attractive. And it's like in a world like this where like where like these kinds of characters would exist, it's just natural that some of them would be attractive. Also, they're not like actual animals. It's not like some weird bestiality thing. Calm the fuck down. I think that's what a lot of people have issue with. Those who are against this kind of thing, and I'm talking about the people who actively like call this shit out. I'm not talking about like people who are just like, oh, that's a little weird. No, I'm talking about the people who actually complain about this, because I've definitely seen it plenty. I've seen it with like One Piece with the Mink tribe and everything as well. But it's like seeing this, it's like I don't know if anybody has complained about this, but I could believe it. And it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, okay, so we have this sexy dragon character, right? They're not actually a dragon. Like, they're not actually like a literal reptile. They have human level intelligence, possibly even more, depending on the human, obviously. They have full sentience and full sense of self. It's like they're basically no different from any ordinary person besides their physical appearance. That's the only difference. And it's like humans are extremely diverse in physical appearance as it is in many different ways, not just like in like skin color, but there's also in terms of like facial features, body types, um uh even just like some people having disabilities and having different features because of that, having like scars or whatnot or burn marks, having different kind of birthmarks and all. There's vitiligo. There's a lot of different ways that people can look different, and judging them on such narrow-minded bullshit is really fucked up. Honestly, it's something that's like always irritated me. Like, if this character is basically human in every regard except their physical appearance, and maybe some things like, oh, like obviously this character can breathe fire, I guess, and fly because it has wings, or could fly at one point. Um, it's like you're you're still judging based on very like minimal reasoning. You're hating on a character and hating that they're, like conventionally attractive in the way they're drawn because they have scales and wings and stuff. And it's like that's just fucking weird to me. And I'm not saying this like just because like I find them to be very attractive. It's just a weird idea to me to like judge and hate someone, a character, for that reason, especially since it's fictional. But like even if like a someone like this existed in real life, it's like what would be the problem with this? If someone like this existed in real life and was exactly the same, and you were judging them on that, and like again, I'm talking about the people who are really like aggressive about it and like do compare it to bestiality and stuff. Like that would be extremely racist. Like that's how that would come across, right? Or I guess speciesist, but you get the general idea. Um, it would just be it would come across as extremely bigoted and hateful. And yeah, obviously it's a cartoon, it's animation, it's a different scenario than that. It's not real life. But it's like that makes it even weirder. It's like you're judging something like that harshly that's not even real. It's fantasy. Chill the fuck out. People like this are just confuse and annoy me. Um and anyway, we also have a very sexy human character in this episode too, with Destiny and her glorious muscles. Um, I mean, hey, I've made no secret on this channel that I am very into that. Um, so me getting flustered over her appearance here, like, perfectly reasonable for me at this point, but also, again, it was so goddamn sudden. Like, it just thrust that on us, and it's like, I just didn't have time to properly process it. Like, my mind was short circuiting. I just, you really could have given me some warning. And I understand. It's like it obviously showed like a little time skip, so we know that there's been time between like the end of last episode and like that point. So them reacting once again to saying that, oh, you're just as ripped as usual and everything, is like, yeah, that's reasonable for them. Because even though, and I have to say that because I did like react during that, saying like, oh, I'm not used to that. That's not as usual for me, or something, like whatever I said in the moment. But it's not. That's the thing. Because as a viewer, that was very sudden. It was just out of nowhere. But for them, it has probably, again, been weeks. They've had to face off against multiple groups of voids. And so, yeah, Destiny has been getting ripped during this time. They've known about it. But again, from a viewer perspective, it's a very different situation. Because it was so sudden. Um, but her opening up her orphanage, like successfully doing that, is fantastic. Because that was her goal and she wants to help these kids. And that's awesome. That's amazing. And we see that Natsuko and the others help her with this. Natsuko is actually really great with kids, which I'm not necessarily surprised about. It's more along the lines of, I just didn't necessarily expect that they were going to reveal something like that. It just didn't seem like it was going to come up. But then it's like, oh, they just found a way to integrate it in, and yeah. Um, but she was kind of a loner and didn't really have like a lot of like good personal connective skills with people, as we saw. We saw this at the beginning. But at the same time, um, that doesn't mean she's not good with kids. Because kids, you have to act and react a little differently to than adults. And you can be a little goofier and weirder with kids, and they'll react a lot better to that. So it kind of tracks. I've worked with kids myself. I've worked daycare stuff like with churches and all. I've just worked in like the children's program at one of my old churches. I think two of my old churches actually. Um, and yeah, it was a lot of fun to do because kids are great. They're so honest, but very very genuine. They have a lot of fun and like to play pretend, and they're just like great to hang out with. I want kids. I want to be a mom so bad. I really do. Even just one kid. Uh, Trying to adopt though in my situation would be hell. It just wouldn't happen. And I can't give birth and I don't have a partner at all, so I don't know if it'll end up happening, but I would love for it to. That would definitely be a dream come true for me. I would absolutely love to be a mother. Um, but yeah, it's just seeing Natsuko just like play around with them, cheer with them, get them all excited, and like bring all these kids to the orphanage, all these kids from this horrible district as well. This horrible district where people have to lie, cheat, and steal, possibly even kill to survive, where it's all despair, there's no hope at all. Like that's that's rough. And no kid should have to go through that. And yeah, the entire thing with Natsuko saying like no kid should have to like want for food is like that is just straight up reminiscent of One Piece's Wano arc. For those who don't know, um, in the Wano arc of One Piece, like that's actually one of Luffy's main driving reasons for helping. I mean, he would help anyway, of course, but he meets this girl at the beginning of the arc named Tama, who is starving. She is going without food most of the time. She barely eats. She's so hungry that she ends up drinking water from a poisoned river just to try and fill her belly. And it makes her extremely sick. And after getting her help, like, she ends up being able to eat this red bean soup. And she exclaims it's like the best day of her life, the tastiest thing she's ever eaten. And this actually bothers the shit out of Luffy. And he promises her that he's going to make Wano the a land where she can eat as much as she wants. And it's like one of the emotional driving forces of the entire arc. It keeps coming back. It's not just a thing at the beginning of the arc. It is prevalent throughout the entire fucking thing. It is literally one of the emotional driving forces of the entire arc. And so, like, just that idea being, like, repeated here, of that, like, no kid should have to want for food and everything, it's just, like, instantly reminded me of that. And just in general, it's something I strongly believe in. Like, there should be no homeless kids. No matter what, there should be no homeless kids. There should never be kids wanting for food. If a kid is homeless, they should be, like, officially saved from that. Like, the government should step in and do something. But, of course, the government doesn't care about people, to be fair, so. At least in America. So, kind of fat chance on them giving a shit. I'm going to make myself mad if I keep talking about this. Let's move on. Let's move on to Justice. So we find out Justice was one of the 9 heroes, 9 soldiers before. And we find out there was another one, this, like, rocky dude who I guess bleeds magma or something. He ended up dying during this decisive battle in the past. And Justice got severely injured. However, they didn't want to worry Luke, because Luke is so kind and so caring that they were worried that Luke would just kind of put everything aside and blame himself, and they didn't want to put that on him, which is also really kind of them. So Justice instead decided to leave the 9 soldiers and ended up living in the Despair District out of, like, lack of options. And it's really fucked up, because they did it entirely for good reason, to spare Luke's feelings, but they put themselves in such a horrible situation because of it. Like, they're drinking, and it's very clear they're drinking to get by. They're drinking to try and, like, numb the pain. Not physical pain, but emotional pain. They are not okay. And so when Natsuko went to check on the wings and everything, it's like, I think she was also kind of giving them a hug. Because God knows they fucking need it. Like, they are depressed. And it's very easy to see, because I've been there. I for those who don't know, who may be newer to the channel or whatnot, back in 2013, I was in, like, excessive depression to the point where I attempted suicide multiple times. And it was bad. It was, like, really bad. And mind you, the exact reasons why I was facing that depression were not the same as for Justice, obviously. There was definitely a lot of my feelings were because I were piling up on me, because I didn't want to, like, burden anybody else with them. I was keeping my depressed feelings inside for way too long. It's actually one of the biggest reasons why I'm so honest and open nowadays why I don't tend to hide much, because like I'm so afraid that it will lead me back into that kind of state I was in back then because I did that. And so it's something that I really try to live by ever since I came out of that depression. And it still hits me at times. I want to make that clear. Like depression like that never truly goes away. Not completely. You can get through it and you can like better your emotions like on a general scale, but it will come back at times. There are times where I can't get out of bed in the morning. There have been times where it's like I've like specifically stayed in bed hours longer because I just was not into it. And luckily I've been able to like handle it most of the time, and I know ways to actually even combat it a little bit. It doesn't always work. Things don't always like tend to go like perfectly with it, but I have ways that help. It's not perfect, but it's something. And so it's like when I see a character who like is exhibiting the kind of emotional state that I was in. And mind you, I wasn't drinking away my feelings at the time either, because I just didn't have the availability to do that. If I did, if I had the money to like be buying alcohol constantly, oh, I would have been. um, but it's like I still see a lot of those feelings I was going through injustice, and it does make me connect with them already. Um, again, it's very clear that Natsuko is going to have helped them, and that they're going to come and help Natsuko in return in the next episode. But still, it's just like I do really feel for them. And I don't know if this is going to fix things like perfectly, because with anime, it's like it could. They could just have like a one and done thing. I kind of hope not. I kind of hope not, because I feel like that would be more realistic and would be very fitting for this series if they didn't just like resolve everything in one go. But we'll see. We'll see. Um yeah, there's also the setup in this with the fact that Natsuko has tended to try to take on every bit of work herself, and just using the excuse that it would be faster that way. And we see her starting to go into that realm again now that she's in this fantasy world. She's gained so much attention, so much praise, that it's getting to her head. It's causing her to be overconfident, just like all the praise she got for her work and everything in the real world caused her a little bit of overconfidence. And now she like tries to go after these void eggs on her own and ends up worsening the problem. Her drawing ends up failing the first time that's happened. I mean, it also needed an addition. Like the drawing had to be like added onto, and it still failed. She acted without thinking because she was overconfident because of all the praise she's been getting. And again, I don't hold this against her. I want to make that clear. That's an entirely reasonable reaction for what she's been going through. And it's the case of this is going to be a learning moment for her, and she's going to have to better herself. Or not really much better herself, but, better her mindset in regards to all of this. She has to work as a team with everyone. Trying to handle this alone was fucking stupid. But she needed this. She needed this humbling moment. And I know there's probably some people going back to the entire thing with there being this time skip. There's some people who don't like it when shows do that. I'm not talking about like a 2 year time skip like One Piece or Naruto, where it's like, oh, you ended off the storyline and now you're going 2 years into the future and starting something new. No, I'm talking like when a series just has like a montage of time passing by, like weeks or months or something, and it just continues on from there. There are some people who don't like that because they feel like it's like you're in the middle of a story, you're in the middle of a plot line, and you're just kind of skipping through certain things that could be shown on screen. I don't mind it. I don't think it's that big of an issue, depending on how it's done. And I just have no reason to feel like it's done poorly here. Because the stuff we're skipping by is stuff like that would just be super repetitive, facing more voids and everything. And yeah, we're thrust into some things afterwards where it's like, oh, they already know about the Serval Cat house being built and starting to get running. They already know about Destiny being this buff, beautiful goddess. It's like, yeah, it feels like we as viewers are missing a little something. I get that. But that's the point with something like this. You're skipping ahead into the future, and so you're going to see things that the characters know about, but you don't. And it tells you about that. That's why, like, Destiny's arrival, as quick and sudden as it was made note of. Like, the screen focused on her muscles. It focused on how her body has changed. And it even drew attention to it with Unio, like, pointing it out. Also, Unio is just in the fucking wrong for saying that her old body was better. Like, Unio, you're just fucking wrong for that. She is a goddess. But in all seriousness, it's like, yeah, it's one of those occasions where it's like it's done as well as it needs to be. Because like it's I don't know how else to put it. Like there's no better way to really handle it. It's as it should be. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I in some ways tend to be a little more forgiving of things than other people, and in some ways I'm less forgiving. It just depends on the thing. But in this case, I just don't get it. I don't understand people complaining about this kind of thing. Um, it makes sense to me to skip past a lot of the repetitive stuff. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode for a number of reasons. Um, Definitely not least the sex appeal of this episode. But I just really like them helping out the kids. That's like just so sweet and beautiful. And of course, like the storytelling with Natsuko's like big flaw here, and the depths of this new character with Justice. It's really developing things in the right way, and I'm having a blast with it. I think it's really good. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Zenshu? And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.